You know, just observing the world in general, but also just observing these debates. The reason I got my teeth so deeply like grabbed onto this is because this is the reason why a lot of the distractions are happening for specific reasons. You've got movements, all right, like the LGBTQ, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I forgot how many letters they got in there, but they've got movements like this that are saying we're coming after your children, you know, be prepared, we're forcing it on you and whatnot. And I'm noticing that these things kind of like get people's ego online, right? And when the ego's online, you're basically in the illusion, you're blinded, and it's backed up by fear. See, the whole thing is you're basically operating on the love frequency. This is why I made the example in previous videos how humans are predominantly good. It can be no other way. The reason why is because if you look at, I made the example about what is life, just life in general. When you sit back and, you know, you basically, let's say, are in a paradise type of state, you say, oh, this is the life, man. This is life. What are you referring to, though? You get what I'm saying? See, in order for you to be here, having this experience, you have to be love. You are love. Anything other than that are toxins in the form of mind viruses that you're infected with, that pull you out of your space, out of source. If you're not operating from source, neutrality, right? And then you are in a love vibrational frequency, which is what your body operates on, because if not, you wouldn't even be here. You wouldn't be here. See, fear there's examples I've made in previous videos where people took it the wrong way and think that I said being in fear is not, let's say, for example, what did I say? I said, love and light doesn't have power over fear and darkness. I've made examples as to what I even meant by that. But in actuality, fear is the illusion. So fear, if you say, oh, I don't agree with this zigzag because love has the ability to neutralize fear and what, see, even you saying that, you're already saying that fear is real. Fear is not real. Fear is a toxin. Fear is something that it's where you've heard people say false evidence appearing real. That's what fear stands for. You heard people say that, you know, fear is to fear itself. See, fear doesn't exist, right? But love is everything. Everything, harmony is love. Otherwise, you would cease to exist. Okay? And if you're operating from a space of fear, it's not to bypass it or discard or run away from the fear. Right? Because if your source is neutral, you neutralize imbalanced chemistry, right? With the proper balance, the proper chemistry. So that's why they say love neutralizes things, because your neutral source operates on the frequency of love and harmony. So one thing to take into account, this is where the whole why are you in fear? Why you sit with that fear and you figure out where it's coming from, right? So now this the reason I'm even bringing this up, right? Because I've made examples that were many faces to these emotions, okay? Even love, where you think something's love, but just like fear is paralyzing, love is paralyzing too. Because when it's backed up by the ego, which is not the real you, then you want to hold on to it and you form attachments to it. That's not love. Love is a detaching frequency. It's just like when you die. When you die, they program you to fear death, right? But you experience death here in this waking state when you detach from things. Like I deaded a relationship. I deaded that relationship with that girl. She wasn't worth it, so she was no longer serving you. Life is something you use and learn from, and then you detach from it. But if you're attached to it, you may come back in the same loop because you're always chasing the light. But this is why people are afraid when they're in the dark, right? They don't feel like they want to face themselves, because when you're disconnected from everything, you're mainly facing yourself when you're in the darkness, because you are that darkness, right? So that's why they say out of darkness comes light. But why? Because you're in the dark, you find light within yourself, right? And this is how you become enlightened. You're the source of the information. You're not looking for light outside of yourself. When you die, you'll try to find light outside of yourself because you can't really see in the dark. But when you become that light, you are that light bearer, that light bringer, right? Which has a lot of negativity to it. We even look at the number 666 and say that's also a bad thing. When in actuality, if you look at all the numbers from 1 to 9, okay, which we say the 9 frequencies, the 9 dimensions, 1, 2, 3, if you add those numbers up, that's 6. 4, 5, 6, you add those up, you'll get a number. The totality of the two numbers, that's 6. 7, 8, 9, you add those numbers up, you get 2 numbers, add those 2 numbers up, and then you get 6. That's where you get 666. So when you look at it from, let's say the dimensions, you break them down into 3s, everything happens in 3s, right? On your mark, get set, go, right? And everything that happens in 3s. Mother, father, creation. In the religion, they tell you Father, Son, Holy Spirit, like the Holy Trinity. But when you get 666, that's also in 3s. And then when you add 6, 12, and 18, 1 plus 8, you got the 9. That's the totality. So you are all the dimensions. We talk about, I want to see in 5D. I want to be in 4D. I want to be in, but you are all these dimensions here right now. But anyway, aside from all that, okay, go talk to a carnivore and push your vegan philosophies on this carnivore, and you'll see what happens. His ego will come online. But why? Because you are going up against his programming, but humans don't like to be told what to do in that way either. All right? Especially by another human. Because you see, the thing is that when you start pushing these religious views or these dogmatic views or these philosophies on people, it challenges them, right? The ego wants to be in charge, wants to be in control. So that's where you start to get the forcing. You create resistance. Resistance makes stronger. Okay? So when you fight, expect the opponent to be just as strong. The stronger the hero, the stronger the villain. And the reason I even bring hero, villain, and whatnot, because you look at carnivores as the bad guy because they're the ones inflicting the most pain, right? Human ideas, though. And then you got vegans. Vegans are the ones that are more toward causing the least harm. But this is why I brought up the example also as to if you got breatharianism, you got veganism, and you got carnivorism. How come you can't practice that practice of breatharianism? The same way that you try to indoctrinate a carnivore into being a vegan, right? A carnivore will say, how the hell could you be a vegan? You're gonna shrivel up and die. Well, you vegans go try to be breatharian. You'll probably have the same programming that the carnivore has toward the vegan. Because in breatharianism, I mean, if you really observe breatharianism, what is nutrition? What is health? Health is about movement, detoxing, right? Eliminating and processing, absorption of nutrients. When you breathe properly, you actually detoxify. 70% of your toxins are actually eliminated through breath. So what does this mean? That means that if you're eliminating properly, okay, you can actually absorb even better, don't you? But when you're eating, for example, a carnivore diet is very dehydrating, very stagnant, right? And if that person's unconscious or unaware, then they may conduct themselves in society a certain way where they're probably very inflammatory in their life, holding on to emotions, holding on to grudges and whatnot, and then you eat an inflammatory diet on top of that, then what do you think is happening? That's a recipe for disaster. So it's not just the meat that's causing that human disease, it's your human actions that are inflammatory, that's basically harmonizing with that chemistry, and it's becoming a frequency match for you to actually create some form of dis-ease within you. But also the way the animals died and whatnot, you're processing that chemistry as well. They teach you this in school. You can't kill energy. You can only transfer, transmute, right? But if you're eating this and then somehow something in life happens, you go and entertain that, these emotions, this rage, this chemistry that's in the muscle meat comes out. And you don't even know why you feel a certain way, right? Now, when you look at good versus evil, right? Look at religion. Religion pushes this God, on you, but it's in a way inverted. It's externalizing your power. Because God is not found outside or in the sky. It's found within you. And when you find that God within you, you'll realize the God in other people. That's why people say in order for you to love others, you got to love yourself first. But why? Because that frequency has to exist in you for you to give that out. That's like me trying to help the poor by being one of them. How can I help the poor if I don't have abundance within me first? If you have trust issues, right? That means you don't trust yourself to some extent. The only person you can lie to is yourself. And if your body's made of trillions of cells, these are the people outside of you. No different than when you see as above, so below. The stars that you see above are all mirror reflections of the people that you experience in your life. The soil has the microorganism, but everything that you see in nature is working in harmony. Don't matter if there's acid-loving trees, there's alkaline-loving trees. How are they all growing so close to each other? The ultimate building network, the true communication network is underground, called the mycelium network, right? I made the examples of, mind-altering experiences. You're nothing here. You're just observing reality. Even when you take a psychoactive drug, that drug or that plant is having an experience through you. Only you think you're having an altered state of consciousness. That's why you feel like you lose yourself. You feel like you're dying, like you're dead. That's why people go crazy when they take certain drugs. It's because it's not you, it's the plant. You're the plant is you. But the plant is using your mechanism to have that experience through you, and it's showing you something. The same way, like, because the plant kingdom, all that is life, isn't it? Influenza, influence of the stars. Viruses are responsible for you being here evolved as a human. How do you know, right? Those viruses, they're dead. They need a host to strive and survive. So they use your mechanism, which those viruses are really you, right? And you actually commune, because these viruses are already in you. All viruses known to man already exist within you. You don't catch nothing. That's why they call things developing symptoms. So these viruses commune with you. You have a communion, okay? And then what happens? There's an evolution happening. You're meant to process these viruses. And I'm going to make this disclaimer. I'm not a medical doctor. These are just based on my opinions. None of my information is backed up by medical studies or medical claims. None of my information is backed up by scientific studies or scientific claims. Do your own research. I'm just putting content online. These are journals for me. So do your own research. Don't listen to a word I say or anybody says. Do the searching within you. That's all you need to do. But anyway, these viruses are you coming in contact with you, right? And you now, it's like a mind-altering experience. But this is the thing, though. How do you evolve consciousness? This is why I said you evolve your consciousness through equality. Equality, all right, of consciousness raises the quality of your consciousness. Because equality, you don't see anything outside of you bigger or smaller than you. It's all equal to you. Everything is you. You're not judging anything. This is where I feel like we're missing the point here. If you go push these philosophies on a carnivore, and I don't even think carnivore even existed. I don't even think there was ever carnivores. This whole thing became a title when veganism started, and they went to war against people who eat meat, labeling them carnivores. And then those people who eat meat, since they were already programmed eating meat, now their ego comes online, because I'm like, oh, the fuck are you challenging me to, not eat meat? And then all of a sudden now they come out with their studies, but you're also providing things that the system provides for you to actually go, and they're used as tools for you to go up against each other, creating this further illusion of separation. When in actuality, I think this is where the distractions are happening, because there's something really, really big happening on the planet. And it's us using the body and mind for things that is not designed to be used for. I think that people are wasting their time going and finding meta-analysis, all these researches that you're not doing. That you have to, because once upon a time, right, there was no scientific studies. We depended on high priests to tell us what it is, and then we had to believe that that's what it was. Now it went from high priest to scientist, so it became another dogmatic belief. And we talk about, oh, is veganism a religion, right? They say it's not a religion. But how is it not a religion when it's dependent on followers, is dependent on your belief in it, and it does exactly what religion does. They'll show you videos about the animals being tortured and slaughtered and whatnot, and all that does is it pulls on your heartstrings. Pulls on your heartstrings. Then your ego falls in love with a philosophy, and because there's a soft side to animals, because we have them as pets, then people become vegans, and then all of a sudden, now you start to see that veganism may not work for certain people though. But why? Because they have a completely distorted idea of what health is. Whenever you go on a vegan diet, let's say, and you stop eating meats, the reason you may lose so much weight is that you're going through a detox of meat. Whatever you stop eating, you detox from that. There's a lot of chemicals. There's a lot of drugs. There's also a lot of toxins. Toxins stored in fat cells. You may even eat such an inflammatory diet that it makes you look inflamed and you look bigger. But then you lose a lot of inflammation and you appear to get smaller. But that's because of all the toxins coming out. If my nails are dirty, it's because I was gardening. But whenever you see this happening, your body will, it basically went back to its normal, natural state. But then upon you continuing to eat a natural diet, your body comes back to its normal state. You get what I'm saying? Because a lot of the times you think you got a lot of muscle mass, and that's not all muscle. That's just a lot of, like, let's say, water, toxins, inflammation, and whatnot. And when you work out, you create a lot of lactic acid. It's an inflammatory experience. You get what I'm saying? A lot of people take creatine, and then it'll blow them up because their muscle belly's filled up with water. But then when they get sick or something, and they get off the creatine for a while, they lost all that weight like that. And why'd they lose weight so quickly? Because it was just water. When you go on a keto diet, you lose weight initially so quickly. Why? Because it's a dehydrating diet. And then when you stop the keto diet, you blow up even quicker than you were before. Why? Because now your body's going to retain water because you damaged your kidneys, you did a lot of damage within you, and now your body's holding on to this water. It's an edemic effect. The electrical system of the body is compromised. Things don't work properly. The electrical system is kind of like, is actually the nervous system. So you may appear to have certain things happening in your body, but there's really nothing wrong with the organs. It's no different than if I have a home with perfectly functioning appliances. If the light gets cut off, it don't matter how good those appliances are, they're not going to turn on unless the power gets put back on. Same thing with your body. The nervous system is attacked. You could go eat fruits from the supermarket. You know how much insecticides are in those fruits? So it may affect you on a neurological level, and then you may appear to be diabetic when you're not even really diabetic. It may just be a nervous system issue in the pancreas. Now, let's say, for example, you became a vegan, right? Because this God frequency in you, right? Which is hidden in the lower realms, okay? Because Christ is not in the sky. Christ is a consciousness that gets raised from within you. It's the sleeping serpent in the coccyx area where the root chakra is, that color red, okay? Now, you can generate this energy, right? Through breath work, you can generate it by your mental states and certain practices that focuses your attention to you and not external to you, right? You're more present with the body. But that's why I've mentioned in previous videos that God is in the lower realms. God is resident evil, residing in the lower extremities, right? But this lower extremity is responsible for your stability. It's the root system of the body. And the stronger these roots are, the stronger the tree is. But if it's residing there, you raise this consciousness up. It's a Christ consciousness, right? And then it does its thing, goes around the pineal gland, comes back down, the whole, died and came back to earth and whatnot. The whole entire story of Jesus Christ is happening within you. The oil, the Crisco oil, that's where you get that word from, comes right back down, and you come back and you're rooted in humanity again. But you're rooted in humanity in a different way. You experience a certain death. Not to say that you physically leave here. You experience a death. You have a certain perception about life that you once had, and you have a different perception now. So once you start to, now you had this experience, which is going to sound pseudo and woo-woo to you, but that's on you. That's like me trying to explain to you, hey, I had an out-of-body experience. I made this example in the debate I had with Joey, right? But these things, you see, you notice how I brought certain topics of, hey, you can't bring that over here, you can't bring that over here. And it's not a religion though, right? But you see, if you're not open-minded to, you know, expansive topics, it's because it challenges your position on a position that's making you money. That's the whole thing. That's why in religion, when you start to bring up astrology, oh no, don't talk about astrology. That's no chakras. No, don't talk about chakras. Why would you not be able to talk about chakras? Why not? You know, why can't I talk about chakras? Why can't I talk about astrology? All these things are the evil things. These are things that are evil. Meditation is evil. You go talk. I've had many religious conversations with religious people. Meditation is evil too. You shall not meditate. Right? But when you pray, they want you to pray and externalize your power. Isn't that a form of meditation though, right? But except you're externalizing your power outside of yourself, right? So when you talk about now, oh, metaphysical, anything metaphysical, nope, that's not backed up by medical science or medical claims, because that's the new dogmatic belief. And I'm going to tie the description of my first video that I talked about when I came into the topic of veganism. Why am I bent on this for now? Is because this is a big distraction. Like I was saying before, that gay movement, okay, it triggers people because they're coming after your children and they're going to push this on your people, right? And then they say veganism is not pushed on people, but I've heard many vegan channels, certain people literally saying word for word, well, prepare because we're going to push this on everybody. And they depend on, they would love for the government to pass a law for it to be illegal to eat meat, right? So then that means that it would be where if somebody was a carnivore, they would have to forcefully stop eating meat because it would be illegal to eat meat, right? But what if the tables were turned? What if somehow veganism became illegal? And since you have such a big religious belief toward the, enslaving of these animals, if it became illegal, would you stop eating meat? Would you? Would you break the law? Would you do that? That's like me saying, well, if that's the case, well, I can make money any way I want. I can just go traffic drugs, right? Because I need to make money. It's supply and demand. Now, if, for example, I made this example in the video too. What if these animals were criminals in their past life, enslaving, torture, murdering things or people, and they have to experience this in this reality, and you are intervening in that process of evolution to some extent? Oh, but what about the kids in the school shootings? And, what are you going to say, that they did something in their past life? No, the thing is that you specifically said, like every vegan does, these animals are bred into existence for the purpose of these heinous things happening to them. The kids in these Columbine schools and whatnot, they were not bred into existence for that purpose. They were in environments that positioned them there. Influence of parents, people, plus the individual made decisions that put them in the position they're in. Mental states, all the shit you go through in life, you made the decisions and placed yourself there. And I'm gonna make probably further topics. If not, we'll move on from it unless something else arises and I feel like talking about it. But one thing I can tell you is keep an open mind and observe reality. There's things happening, distractions are happening, and it's a real thing. We'll talk soon.